Lay. Zup. Yeah. Yeah.
Kane is in the building.
Already the show goes on all night. Till the morning we dream so long. Anybody ever wonder when they would see the sun? Just remember when it comes to the show, it goes
Life, death, and the Saints giving us heartbreaks. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Off the Dome Sports Podcast, your favorite sports podcast where two sports lovers sit and express their hot takes.
Off the Dome.
I am Bryce,
And I'm Byron.
and we are your hosts steering this ship today. If you're just listening to us, you can watch us live right now on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch at Radio House Studios on all those accounts. If you're listening to us on newrockradio.us, we want to thank you, too, for listening in. newrockradio.us, streaming your favorite rock music 24/7. We also have newcountryradio.us. If you're a country music fan like I am, you'll love that station. Got over 600 songs on the playlist. More coming soon. You can also find us on Facebook and YouTube on our own channels, Off the Dome Sports Podcast, as well as Twitter, _Dome Pod. We want to thank Fatty's Restaurant on Museum Street in Garyville, place I know we both love. You've played there a couple times.
Few, yeah.
A little bit of music.
Great food.
Great food. Offering some great bar food, some Cajun seafood. Wonderful stuff over there. You can get them for lunch Monday through Friday. If you need to get in contact with them, give them a ring, 985-535-5555, or contact them on Facebook. It's a lot of fives. Thanks again to Fatty's in Garyville, Museum Street. Wonderful sponsor. We love you. Getting right into our sports for the day. Let's talk about some LSU football. This past weekend, Saturday, Death Valley, LSU faced off against University of New Mexico. 38-0.
Yeah.
Can't ask for much more there.
No, even the bettors beat the spread.
Beat the spread. Spread was at 31.5, I believe. Interesting fact, I did not get the correct score. I put 48-10 as my score, but it's the same deficit, 38 points. So I'll give myself half a point on this prediction. Is that fair?
Are you going to let me take half a point?
What did you do?
35-10.
You can get a quarter of a point. I'll take it. Let's go. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, 38-0. LSU Tigers win the game. I think the star of the team is the defense right now, and I don't think it's even debatable. Defense is looking like top 15 in the country. Not only looking like it, but playing like it. Statistically, they are a top 15 defense in the country, trailing right behind number 1 Georgia. Georgia's ranked number 1 in the nation, and we're just below them in total defense. Top 15 in yards allowed, top 15 in points allowed per game. Defense is playing out of their minds. This past weekend, they allowed only 88 yards of offense through 4 quarters.
Damn.
That's only 2 first downs per quarter they allowed, basically.
Sounds like a game of Madden.
It does. It sounds like when you're playing Madden Ultimate Team, if any of y'all play Madden, and you got like a really, really good defense and you play somebody who just bought the game, basically how it goes. LSU was playing somebody who was overmatched, and I'm going to be honest, I'm not complaining.
No. Gives us a win.
Absolutely.
Maybe we'll sneak our way into the top 25 soon.
Hopefully. We'll see how that goes. I don't know if beating Auburn next weekend's really going to help us, but Tennessee's coming up soon.
Big game.
So
Tough opponent.
Yeah, very tough opponent.
But we're
They're
playing them.
number 8 right now.
Yeah, we're playing them in Death Valley, though.
We are playing them in Death Valley at 11 a.m.
Not excited about it.
Not fun. CBS decided to pass on the Tennessee game. Tennessee versus LSU, not once but twice. They put Bama versus A&M at 7:30 that night. Georgia versus whoever they're playing, I think it's Auburn, at the 2:30 spot. So, maybe a little chip on our shoulder saying, hey, you don't think we're good enough?
Yeah.
You don't think LSU's good enough anymore? But, hey, I'll be in Death Valley at 9 a.m. that morning, so hopefully that'll be fun. Getting to the offensive side of the ball against New Mexico, Jaden Daniels, for the first game this season, did not account for a touchdown. Didn't throw one, didn't run one, but still looked athletic, still looked quick. Was very efficient throwing the ball. Only had 5 incompletions all game through 28 total passes, so 23 for 28 through 279 yards. Ended up adding some more yards on the ground like he always does. Nussmeier came in at one point in the game. He was even more efficient, went 9 for 10, 135 yards and a touchdown. I said last episode, if Nussmeier comes in, he's going to have to show us more than he did in the Southern game, and that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, really stepped up.
Yeah, looked great.
He looked confident.
He did, absolutely. Looked a lot more confident than he did against Southern, and I think that just comes with reps. I think that's what it's about. And I'm sure Brian Kelly told him, hey, listen, man, there's a reason there was a quarterback battle. It wasn't a quarterback decision, it was a quarterback battle. So you were in the running the whole time. Have that confidence. Know you're good enough to play in the SEC. Nussmeier looked like it in that second half. Star of the offense was on the ground. We were without Keyshawn Boutte, so I knew the passing game wouldn't be as great. But Armani Goodwin, Noah Kane, both added 2 touchdowns on the ground. Noah Kane was the leading rusher. I think he averaged something like 7.9 yards per rush. So great game on the ground from the Tigers. That's what we saw before the whole 2019 revolution, and it's what we saw in this game. And if it works, it works.
Yeah, it ain't broke, don't fix it.
It ain't flashy, but it wins you games. One point I want to add about LSU before we move on: Harold Perkins, true freshman coming out of Cypress Park, Texas. A couple years ago, I was working for the LSU football team doing a little bit of scouting, and this was one of the guys they told me, hey, look at this guy, keep some stats on him, that type of stuff. He's been a dog since high school, and now he's a dog in college. He's leading the LSU defense in all those stats you want a linebacker to lead in: tackles for loss. He's gotten a couple sacks. He's playing a little bit of pass coverage. Harold Perkins is playing out of his mind, especially for a true freshman. I think he's the best player on the defense, which is crazy to think about considering he's going to be here for at least another 2 years after this.
Yeah, I always love when new players, young players come in and step up immediately. It kind of brings a whole confident mantra to this team. And you're going to have it for at least a few more years.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see how this defense grows. I know we're going to be losing a couple of guys after this year, and Ali Gay, B.J. Ojolari, B.J. Ojolari cannot be understated enough, one of the best pass rushers in the SEC. Mike Jones at middle linebacker. Jay Ward has been playing very, very well as well. Unfortunately, we lose Major Burns for the next 3 to 6 weeks. Major Burns, one of our safeties. He was playing really, really well, but Joe Fucha, transfer from Arkansas, is finally reinstated from his suspension, so he'll be starting this upcoming weekend against Auburn. We'll be playing Auburn on Saturday, going away for first time this season. So we'll see how the SEC treats us on the road. First SEC game on the road, first road game in general other than the neutral site against Florida State in the Dome. So I'm excited to look forward to that matchup. We'll give a little bit more detail about it on our next episode on Thursday, but what's your big point coming away from this game, and what are you looking forward to against that Auburn team?
This week was a great bounce back for the run game. I know we had a good chunk of yards last game and a few touchdowns, but I think this game really got our running backs going. It got the ground under them. Full speed ahead is what I say.
Yeah, let's get it. Moving on from a game we really enjoyed to see the final score of to a game we absolutely hate to see the final score of. I opened tonight's episode by saying life, death, and the Saints giving us heartbreaks, and that's what we're going to talk about. New Orleans Saints going to Carolina, 22-14, and honestly,
it wasn't as good as the James Taylor song.
The what?
Carolina on my mind.
Musicians, am I right?
Some of you will get it.
Yeah, well, I didn't. Anyway, if you kind of look at the final score, you're like, oh, it's only a one-possession game. It probably Carolina just kind of pulled away at the end. That's the exact opposite. Carolina dominated from beginning to end. Saints never looked good. You can't blame it on the defense, first of all.
No,
Let's get that.
not.
Let's get that out of the way. The defense is playing so well right now. They allowed one touchdown in this game, and it was one of those ones where you're like, jeez. Like, I mean, Laviska Shenault, in case y'all didn't see the game, Laviska Shenault had a screen pass. Immediately as he catches it, jukes out PJ, takes off for a touchdown. Super fast and athletic guy. Laviska for Carolina was actually a healthy scratch over the first 2 weeks. So this was his first game in, and then he does something like that. So good for him. He was coming out of a bad situation in Jacksonville. So, I guess props to him, even though he played for the opposing team. But, yeah, that Saints defense is playing phenomenal. You can't blame them. One person you can blame, and it hurts me to say it because you know how much I've supported him, Jameis Winston.
Yeah, he just but he had 2 picks.
It was 2 picks.
Two
yeah.
picks.
Yeah.
And you told him you were going to give him 1, and one of them would have been fine.
Mm-hmm.
But another one, the second one, led to the Laviska Shenault touchdown.
See, the thing about one of the picks was like he didn't throw it like into a defender's hands where it's like, oh, you shouldn't have thrown that 50-yard pass like you get from Jameis picks.
Yeah, it got tipped
It got tipped
by
but-
J.C. Horn.
by J.C. Horn into a defensive tackle's hands. You would think the roles would be reversed. But anyway, about that pick, it still was a bad decision.
Yeah.
You could see J.C. Horn coming straight at him. He almost looked at him and decided to throw it anyway, which is something that Jameis has been famous for. It's just famous Jameis, you know? Just throwing long balls and throwing risky passes, and unfortunately we're seeing that side of him right now. I've been on him, you know, I've been on the Jameis hype train all along. Byron's been more skeptical. Looks like it's hitting for you right now. What are you seeing from Jameis that you think needs to be improved?
You know, it was the same thing I've been saying from the beginning. He just doesn't look confident. I know I expected it from the start of the season, coming off that injury. You're gonna have a little shaky, and he didn't look horrible against Atlanta, but
No.
because mostly it was the O-line who couldn't protect him a lot.
Right.
So I gave him a pass. Then the following week, the O-line played great.
Yeah, and he didn't
Jameis
look good.
didn't.
And then again this week, I mean, O-line isn't perfect, but Jameis just isn't. He's not playing to the level we need him to play.
Yeah, our comment section really pushing for Dog.
And dog. Maybe they should start Dalton. Shout out Gerald. Red Rocket, let's go. Dennis Allen will go down with the ship on Winston. That's probably it.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it might be true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'd love to see Andy. Maybe not next game. Maybe give him one more shot. Especially
Going to
in London.
Yep, going to London.
Against the Vikings.
Against the Vikings.
Who you know you're going to have to score a lot to beat.
Mm-hmm. Really good offense in Minnesota.
And their defense has kind of surprised some people, too.
Absolutely. Yeah. But, yeah, Jameis, man, I've been trying to support him. I'm going to give him one more.
Yeah,
He's going to play against Minnesota. It's not like are we going to see Andy Dalton start this game? No. Jameis is starting. Dennis Allen said it. He said, listen, we know there's mistakes. Jameis knows there's mistakes, but he also knows he's our starting quarterback. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I feel like if Andy Dalton were to start this next game, he probably would have came in, at some point in the previous game. But they didn't. And so I think maybe 2 or 3 games down the line, we might see an Andy Dalton start. Or Jameis could get hurt. Or he could get hurt.
Whoa, watch it. He's already hurt.
Yeah, I know.
That's the biggest thing about why is he playing right now. He has 4 fractures in his back and had a sprained ankle and decided to trot out there looking like a deer in the headlights playing quarterback. We can't have it.
No.
We can't have it. Woodrow, what's up, man? See you in the chat. They are wearing the black helmets in London. Those are
Ooh,
sick.
yeah.
I do like the black helmets. I think they're going to be with the Color Rush unis too. So the black helmets with the all whites, that should look pretty clean. And our buddy Reese, if you listen to one of our earlier episodes, he was on here with us, talked a little bit of playoff predictions in the NFL before the season got started. He asked how much of it is on Pete Carmichael. Pete Carmichael, as many people probably know, offensive coordinator for the Saints, was here the entire time with Sean Payton. How much of it is on Pete Carmichael?
See, there were a lot of people, especially on Twitter, talking
Mm-hmm.
about coaching, offensive coordinator's fault, not Jameis's.
Mm-hmm.
But then, when the tape came out, people started watching tape. You could see, like one specific. It was 3rd and 3. We were on
I think I
on
know
Carolina's
exactly what-
40, so we
yep.
were on the other side of the field.
Mm-hmm.
And all the receivers downfield were covered. You could see Jameis looking downfield, but what you don't see him looking at is Alvin Kamara, 10 yards up the
And
field,
you
wide open.
You could see that about 4 to 5 times throughout the game. Is that, Kamara is so good in the open field, and we're not giving him the opportunity. And it goes back to how Jameis was in Tampa. He always wants the home run ball. Every time. But yeah, he's got to hit Kamara underneath. If Kamara gets the ball underneath an open space, we have seen so many times what he can do, and we're just not giving him that opportunity.
Yeah, and I think even though he was injured prior, I think he should have touched the ball a little more. Been on the field a little more. I do like the split between him and Mark Ingram, but I do think we need to get back to what we were doing before.
Yep.
And Kamara being the lead back, Mark Ingram being like a third down power back.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of Ingram towards the goal line. We're seeing him in short yardage situations, which makes sense. He has more power than Kamara. And that's not to say Kamara doesn't have power in the run game. Ingram is just built different, literally. He's literally built different. So giving him the ball in a short yardage situation where we need power, that's one thing. But yeah, we've got to get Kamara the ball in his hands. Alex, little cousin Alex, shout out you for watching out. He asked for the opinion on Alvin Kamara's performance in these games. I just think he's not getting the opportunity.
Yeah, I think he's doing well when he gets the chance, but he's just not getting as much reps.
He was efficient in the run game this past week. He went 15 carries for 61 yards, I believe, 4.7 per carry. That's almost 5 yards a carry.
That's a pretty good game for him because he's usually the pass catching back. He gets a lot of passing yards.
And that's the problem, is he's not getting those pass catching opportunities. I think that's the biggest problem with Kamara right now. I don't know how much of it is on him. I think it's more on Jameis. Jameis just got to look at him.
Yeah.
Jameis, unfortunately, has that negative touchdown to interception ratio. Last year when he got injured, we were looking at 14 touchdowns to 3 picks. Pretty darn good if you ask me. That would have finished second in the league as far as percentage goes, only behind Aaron Rodgers. This year, 4 touchdowns, 5 picks. You can't have more picks than touchdowns. And that's something that we've seen from Jameis plenty of times. Anyway, like we said, we're looking forward to the Vikings game next Sunday. It's an early kickoff, just like LSU's an early kickoff against Tennessee. New Orleans is going to be an early kickoff in London. It's going to be 8:30 Central Time. So hopefully you got your cup of coffee ready, nice little energy drink, maybe a little breakfast Sammy, some Mickey D's, whatever you need to do. Get ready for that game early in the morning. But then it opens up the opportunity to have the rest of your day to watch everything else.
Yeah, I'll be working nights this weekend, so I probably won't see much of the game. Might wake up for like the second half, check it out.
Yeah.
If it's not doing well, I'll probably go back to sleep in order to, work through the night.
Yeah. Before we move on to the rest of the NFL games, want to point out one positive from this past week. I know we just did a lot of negative talking. Chris Olave had a great game.
Yeah.
Chris Olave looked great. And, you're going to look great when you get hyper-targeted. But you have to get open to catch passes. And Chris Olave was open. I think he showed it in college. One of the best route runners coming out of the draft. Super fast. And it's translating right now. He had 9 receptions for 147 yards. He even had a couple passes that, I think he had 2 catches that were called back by penalty. And then, if you look at his targets versus receptions, that ratio may be a little bit off because Jameis is just chucking the ball downfield to him, hoping he'll catch it, even though he's not open. So that number may be a little bit off if you go look at it in the box score, but Chris Olave is looking like a first-round receiver right now.
Yeah, and I think he might not have as many yards, but I think he'd have more touchdowns. But when defenses come and play Jameis, they know that he's looking for the deep bomb, so they're expecting it more. Like when Drew Brees and Teddy Bridgewater were playing, they knew it was going to be a slow, methodical drive down the field. Check down, medium out route, deep bomb.
I'm laughing because somebody says put Olave in at QB.
Yeah, that's Peyton.
Well, thanks, Peyton. First of all, Peyton, no, that just doesn't make sense. Second of all, thanks for helping us out tonight, bud. Peyton's helping us run the audio, run the video, so shout out to Peyton. Getting into the rest of the NFL games, we didn't pick great, to be honest with you.
No, you went about 50%.
I went 50%.
45.
You went right underneath. I had 7 out of the 14 games we picked. I picked
6 out of 14.
You had 6 out of the 14. Starting off with the Texans, going to Chicago. Bears ended up winning by 3. Pretty close game. The spread was at 2.5. Bears win by 3. Vegas knows what they're doing. Of course they do. Why would they not? I had the Texans, which we'll talk about in a second, getting into our bets. But, yeah, I missed on that one, unfortunately.
Both of us did.
Yeah, but that wasn't a big game.
Yeah, that game could have gone either
Yeah,
way.
it's Texans Bears. Who
Yeah.
cares?
But it was a pretty good game, especially for the early slate. Like, not many of them were exciting.
Very close. A very exciting game and a very surprising game. Colts and Chiefs. Chiefs were undefeated, looking like the powerhouse of the league once again, like they always are. Colts down in the dumps, 0-2, looking like they don't deserve to be there. They lost 24-0 against the Jags, and then they come out and beat the Chiefs. Like they say, any given Sunday, I was surprised by it, but hey, shout out to the Colts.
Yeah, and last episode I was talking about how I think the Colts will eventually turn around, but probably wouldn't be this week. Turns out it was this week. Pittman showed up in a big way. Matt Ryan was completely dissecting that Chiefs defense.
Yeah, Matt Ryan had a great game, and so did Michael Pittman.
Yes.
Shout out Michael Pittman Jr., best receiver in the league.
And for the Colts defense to be able to step up and hold Mahomes like that, there was a bit of a coaching discrepancy between the Chiefs sideline. Mahomes was pretty upset.
Yeah, I saw him yelling at Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah, it was like a few seconds left before halftime. They had just crossed midfield.
Mm-hmm.
They had 2 timeouts, and instead of taking a timeout, maybe try and get closer, get a field goal, or hell, go for the end zone,
Yeah.
they decided to just run the clock out and go to halftime.
Yeah, that makes no sense to me, especially when you're a high-powered offense that can make anything happen at any moment like the Chiefs are. I mean, we saw Travis Kelce in the playoffs twice. You have huge plays to put the Chiefs back in the game or even win the game. So I don't know why you don't take a shot there and call a timeout. Take a shot towards the out of bounds. You have speed on that team. McCole Hardman, Sky Moore,
What?
Travis Kelce,
What?
Clyde out the backfield,
What?
backup running back Isaiah Pacheco.
What?
Everybody's fast. So why not even try? I don't understand it. But, shout out Thug Nasty. Thug Nasty was the Radio House Studios, not Peyton.
Oh.
So, Peyton, I'm taking your shout out away. Nobody listened to what I said about Peyton. He stinks. But, yeah, shout out Thug Nasty. Thanks for the comment. And Thug Nasty, I got something to tell you about this next game I want to talk about. It's a little bit farther down our list here, but I have to mention it right now just because I know you're listening. T.J. Hawkinson, tight end for the Detroit Lions, scored his first touchdown of the season. Give it up for T.J. Hawkinson.
You still happy about that trade?
T.J. Hawkinson scored a touchdown, and I won this week. So what? I can't complain.
All right, I'm winning too.
I mean, I would have won by more if I had James Robinson.
Probably would have won last week too if you had James Robinson.
Well, guess what? I don't. But I got TJ. Yeah, baby. We love the Lions. Unfortunately, they lost, though. Vikings won. Lions blew a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. My Detroit Lions, unfortunately. Would have liked to see them win, but hey, they're sticking it close to every team they play. Whether they win or lose, they have not played a game. Well, actually, they won the game by 9 when they beat the Commanders, but the 2 games that they've lost have been by 3 and 4 points.
Yep.
So they're playing good football right
Against
now.
good teams.
Against good teams, the Eagles and the Vikings.
The Vikings?
Shout out Reese. But yeah, that was a pretty good game. Lions Vikings, NFC North matchup, 2 kind of teams that people think are mid tier, but could surpass that easily, especially if Reese is right about the Vikings going to the Super Bowl. But yeah, that was a pretty good game.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
You know another game I enjoyed? The game we both projected to be our favorite game of the weekend, the highest scoring game of the weekend, which it wasn't. But hey, still a very good game between the AFC East divisional matchup, arguably 2 of the top 4 or 5 teams in the AFC, Bills and Dolphins. And the Dolphins ended up pulling it out.
Yeah, it really surprised me. Tua got injured, but he came back.
Yep. Weird. He looked like he
Yeah.
couldn't walk and then came out after halftime.
Came out gunning.
Hey, his stats weren't all there, but guess what? Stats don't matter when you win a football game. So shout out to the Dolphins, beating what people think is probably the Super Bowl favorite.
I think he took one out of Joe Burrow's book from when
That Fiesta Bowl,
that Fiesta Bowl.
I hear you.
So maybe not this year, but next year, Dolphins to the Super Bowl
Why not?
if
this
he
year?
follows the
They're
same
undefeated.
path. Yeah, could even be.
undefeated.
Yeah.
That's a sneaky pick. Moving on from the Bills and Dolphins. What are we laughing at? What we got? We got a comment?
Thug Nasty's talking more on you.
Yeah, Lions blew it. Nice game by TJ, too. Yeah, You're right. Lions blew it. Woohoo. TJ scored a touchdown, though.
You know who didn't blow it? The Ravens.
Darn right they didn't. Lamar, bro. Lamar. Contract year, Lamar.
He's trying to be able to play
He's-
with house money.
Bro, he's up there with Hoodie Mello, Mask LeBron, Jersey biting Kobe. I'm making all basketball references here.
Mouthpiece Steph.
Dude, he's up there. Contract year Lamar's up there with those dogs. But yeah, Ravens look good, man. The only game they've lost so far is against the undefeated Dolphins, who just beat the Bills. So you can't really hold that against them too much. They played them super close. So man, Ravens are a team.
Yeah.
Then we had one game, first game that we differed on. Bengals at
Second.
Jets. Second game.
I had the Vikings.
Oh, you had the
winning.
Vikings. Yeah, well, you win one, I win one. Bengals at the Jets. Bengals dominated.
Yeah.
I don't know why you picked the Jets. What were you
Yeah.
thinking?
You gotta have a hot take.
Yeah, but not against Joe Burr.
I mean,
Joe
like I said in-
Shiesty?
like I said in the last podcast, before that game, Bengals were on ice.
Yep, true.
Jets
true.
were on fire.
Yeah, that fair. However, I will never bet against the boys in the stripes, and they are wearing those all whites tomorrow night. Might be the cleanest unis in the league.
That should be a good game.
That Dolphins Bengals tomorrow night. Thursday night. Excuse me. Thursday night. I don't know what I'm talking about. But Thursday night, Bengals versus Dolphins. We're gonna talk about that one on Thursday when we have our next episode. But that's gonna be a fun matchup. Next game on the slate: Raiders Titans. Came down pretty close, but Titans ended up pulling it out. They were two only defeated teams, not undefeated, only defeated.
Yeah. Raiders 0-3.
Raiders are the only 0-3 team in the league right now. Not the only winless team, but the only 0-3 team. Shout out to the Texans. 0-2-1, baby. But yeah, Raiders only 0-3. What's happening in Vegas?
AFC West is not looking as strong as people thought they were.
And by people, you mean me.
No, just people.
I had all
And you.
four of them going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right now,
How's it looking?
terrible. Raiders 0-3. Chargers, a Super Bowl pick, 1-2.
1-2.
We'll see how it goes. But yeah, Titans win it. Unfortunately, Taylor Lewan gets injured again. Shout out to Bussin' with the Boys, Will Compton, Taylor Lewan.
He'll probably be on the podcast more now.
Hopefully. I really like that podcast. It's a good podcast. If y'all have never listened to it, that's a really good one.
My second favorite sports podcast. Well, third.
Yeah, it's up there. It's a
Third
good one.
favorite.
I know our buddy Reese loves it too. So, yeah, Taylor Lewan's out for the season. That sucks for the Titans.
Yeah.
But they ended up winning the game anyway, so good for them. Next game, Philadelphia Eagles going to Washington to play the Commanders. Nobody expected anything different. Eagles win it very easily. Jalen Hurts had a beautiful game, over 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. Devonta Smith, shout out Devonta Smith, on my fantasy team, 8 catches, 169 yards, and a touchdown. Dude went off.
Glad you decided to start him.
I'm very glad I decided to start him. It was either him or Noah Brown, so glad I went with Devonta Smith
Oh,
instead.
yeah, because you have
Because
Keenan
Mike,
Allen.
Mike
Williams.
Evans. Mike Evans.
Mike Evans.
You got it. You got it
Eventually.
eventually. Yeah. Well, that's a debate for us this week, though. Who do we start, Mike Evans or Devonta Smith? Devonta Smith's
Ooh.
coming off a hot game. Mike Evans is playing the Chiefs. Maybe I'll talk about that one on Thursday. Maybe that'll be a part of our little
Start him,
fantasy.
sit him.
Start him, sit him. Ladies and gentlemen, look forward to our next episode. We might be playing a little start him, sit him on the Fantasy 5. Moving on to the next game, a team who is coming out of nowhere, Jacksonville Jaguars, man.
Yeah.
38-10
But
against
hurting
the Chargers.
on Herbert.
Hurting on Herbert. But yeah, Jags look good, man. Your boy James
Especially
Robinson,
James Robinson.
not James Earl Jones. A little inside baseball there. But yeah, Jags look good. Trevor Lawrence is looking a lot better than I thought he would. Before he even got drafted, I was like, yeah, he's going to stink. And he did stink last year, but he's looking real good this year. I guess that's what happens when you give him weapons.
And a new coach.
And a really good coach at that. A Super Bowl winning coach in Doug Peterson. So shout out to the Jags. They have control of the AFC South right now.
Yeah, I think they might make the playoffs.
They might make the playoffs.
It's looking good for them.
It is looking good so far, but
Throwback
we'll see
to,
how it goes down the road.
Was it 2017? They made the AFC
2017
championship?
made the AFC Championship with Blake Bortles
And
behind
everybody
center.
forgot about it?
Well, because then the next year they went like 6-10. So yeah, shout out to the Jags in control of the AFC South. Next game, another divisional matchup, Rams at Cardinals. Unfortunately, I missed out on this one too. I thought the Cardinals, coming off that win against the Raiders, had all the momentum, hot and bothered, and ready to win, and then they stunk. Rams won the game pretty easily.
Yeah, I think maybe Stafford's finally truly gotten rid of that thrower's elbow.
But he's still throwing picks. Stafford can't stop throwing picks. It's like a Jameis thing, but like he's like better Jameis right now. That's how Stafford is playing, and it's weird. He is a risk taker. But hey, if you're winning games, who cares, right? What are we thinking?
Big B is
Big B's on it tonight.
yeah. Him and Danny are in a firefight.
If you guys ever see us go live when you aren't expecting a podcast, it's because Byron's dad, Big B, and Byron's uncle, right?
Yeah.
Are gonna end up boxing because they are in a heated argument in a group chat right now, and we are loving it. I love it.
Brought in a ringer.
Brought in a ringer. Shout out Adam. Next game on the slate, Falcons at Seahawks. That was actually a really good game. It was really fun to watch. I watched most of it, and it was really good.
That game made me a lot of money.
Oh, shout out to the money. We love making money.
We'll go over that parlay maybe Thursday night because you hit one last night, didn't you?
I hit 2 last night.
Yeah, we'll go over them next episode.
Sweet.
And maybe
Let's do it.
we'll both come up with a parlay for the Thursday night game, and y'all can see what you think about it
See, this is what I love. We're making it up as we go.
off the dome.
That's why he makes the big bucks. Falcons at Seahawks. Falcons won the game. Smino just looked great. Oh, that was a good one. Yeah, Geno Smith looked good for the Seahawks. Rashad Penny looked good. DK Metcalf looked good. The Seahawks looked good, but the Falcons looked better. Cordero Patterson absolutely just destroyed that defense.
Yeah, he had 101 rushing yards.
He's good. Cordero Patterson has somehow aged backwards.
Yeah,
The older he gets, the better he gets.
because Minnesota, he was nothing but a kick returner.
Nope, that's it.
And then
He was like Devin Hester, basically.
yeah, and then they were like, "Oh, you can catch the ball a little bit. We'll throw you some passes." And then he left. Then Atlanta picked him up. And they're like, "Nah, you're a running
You're
back."
a running back, and he's damn good at it. Next game was not as close as I thought it would be. It came down to the wire. The Packers ended up beating the Buccaneers in Tampa. I thought it would be closer throughout. They got really close at the end. Tampa scored a touchdown with not much left. Went for the 2-point. Kicked an onside kick, and if they would have recovered, they would have got the ball back in field goal range-ish, almost in field goal range at least. And, only had to go 25 yards to kick the field goal and win the game, but ended up couldn't do it. Aaron Rodgers, back-to-back MVPs. This is what he does every year. He plays terrible in the first week, and then you're like, oh, yeah, I forgot. He's Aaron Rodgers by week 3. So shout out to the Packers beating the Bucks. I love when the Bucks lose.
Me too.
Makes me so
I love when
happy.
Tom Brady loses.
Oh, yeah. By association. Next game, a game we picked different on, but I ended up winning this one
By one.
by 1.
A weird game.
It was one of the most disgusting games I've ever laid my eyes upon. I hated watching that game.
I'm glad I didn't.
I watched it, but I hated every second of it. Broncos versus 49ers. Broncos won 11-10. What a score.
Can we talk about the football IQ of Jimmy Garoppolo to step out of the back of the end zone for a safety, only giving the Broncos 2 points instead of the 6 they would have gotten from the pick 6?
That's a great point. Jimmy G somehow threw a pick 6 and got a safety on the same play, but only the safety counted because he got
Exactly.
that first. So shout out to Jimmy G for only allowing 2 points. However, hear me out. If he had done neither, they would have won the game.
Yeah.
So it's a give and take with Jimmy G. He's in there because Trey Lance got hurt for the year. 49ers didn't look great. Broncos also didn't look great, but the punters had days because they were the only ones who looked good. Moving on from that ugly game, we had last night's game, like like B talked about. I won a little bit of money on it thanks to some parlays. Cowboys versus the Giants. Cowboys ended up winning it. It stayed pretty close until the fourth quarter. Then the Cowboys just pulled away. Alex Locuzzo asked how we feel about Cooper Rush. What do you think about Cooper Rush's performance last night?
You know, he basically came out of nowhere last year and looked pretty good. And then I believe my memory serves me right.
Mm-hmm.
He was looking really good. Played
Mhm.
like 2 games.
Yep.
And then he didn't look good.
Well, I think he might have gotten hurt or something because they had the meme of Ben DiNucci.
Ben DiNucci, yeah.
Ben DiNucci somehow found his way into the starting lineup because Cooper Rush was at. But he's looking good so far this year.
Yeah.
Dak, Dak's
think-
injured and Cooper Rush is picking it up.
Yeah, I think he's a great backup, young. And you really see a connection between him and Noah Brown.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Saw it
that's
last
why,
week.
That's why I added Noah Brown to the fantasy team. Shout out Noah Brown.
Yeah, saw it last week, saw it the week before against Cincinnati. And he also likes Dalton Schultz, throwing a lot of check down passes, which we'd like to see Jameis do.
We don't have to get back on that.
But yeah, I think he's a great replacement for Dak for the time being. You know, we've seen him on the sideline. Don't know whether him or McCarthy is calling the plays down there.
Well, yeah, Dak did look like he was calling some plays. So Dak, Kellen Moore, and Mike McCarthy are just putting together one big brain to call like 30 rushes.
And Cooper's one of them.
Oh, good one. Good one. But yeah, Zeke had a good game. Tony Pollard had a good game. Cooper Rush had a good game. Cowboys offense looked good. Cowboys defense looked good. And I hate saying it because I hate the Cowboys, but good win.
Yeah.
Finally, the Giants aren't undefeated, so we don't have to listen to New York is back.
Yeah,
because they're not.
It makes sense. Yeah, they're never going to be back.
Yeah, can't be back.
As long as Daniel Jones is at the helm, they won't be back.
Shout out Saquon, though. He's trying his hardest.
He is. He's really trying to carry that team.
He's trying so hard. Let's get into a segment we've teased for a little bit here. B&B's bets of the weekend. This past weekend, we each had 3 bets. We had our road dog, which, in case you don't know what a road dog is, somebody who's a betting underdog, so they have a plus spread, and they're going on the road that week. So, for example, I had the Texans at the Bears. The spread was at plus 2.5, and they lost by 3. So I didn't win the bet, but I was close enough, I guess.
Yeah.
Who's your road dog?
The Lions.
You darn right it was the Lions.
And it hit.
It hit. Of course it hit. It's the Lions.
I don't know why. They were plus 5.5. Yeah, I think we all thought the game was going to be closer. I don't know why Vegas didn't, but
Yeah. Hey,
it hit.
shout out to the Lions, baby. Then we each had one safe bet and one risky bet. My safe bet hit. My safe bet was Eagles money line. Not for a blink of an eye did I think the Eagles could lose that game, and they didn't. And then my risky bet was the Detroit Lions, but the money line instead of the spread. I should have went with the spread like you did because it would have hit, but I went with the money line just hoping for it, and it looked good until the fourth quarter, but I still think the Lions are a good team. So I went 1 for 3 on bets.
Yeah, and so did I because I lost both of these bets, even though I hit my road dog bet because the Chiefs were 5.5-point favorites against the Colts. They did not win, so negative 5.5 for the Chiefs. Turns out it wasn't a good look.
No,
And
can't hit
I
the spread
had,
when you lose.
Yeah, unless you're the dog.
The dough.
And then I also had the Texans money line against Chicago. That didn't hit.
You know, our bets seem to feed off of each other, and unfortunately, like we said on last
It
episode,
never works out.
like we said on last episode, we're gonna be 3 for 3, or we're gonna go 0 for 3. We both went 1 for 3, but close enough. So this week,
Yeah, we're much better with fantasy than with our bets.
definitely. This week we're gonna do another road dog because we got to, because we are the road dogs. Shout out Dustin. Anyway, my road dog for the week. Arizona Cardinals are going to Carolina to play the Panthers. They're at plus 1.5. I think it's going to be a close game for sure, but I like Kyler more than I like Baker. Therefore, I'm going to take the Cardinals. Their spread is 1.5. You can get that at minus 110. And I would go as far to say that you could bet that money line. I think the Cardinals are going to win the game, and you can get that money line at plus 100, so you'll double your money.
For my road dog, I'm going to be taking the Washington Commanders, who are playing in Dallas
Ooh.
against the Cowgirls. Cooper Rush and the Cowgirls.
After we just talked them up, we're going to bring them down. That's what you got to do to the Dallas people.
Yeah, I mean, Commanders, besides last week, Commanders look pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say Carson Wentz had 616 yards. He was the number 2 passer in the NFL before last week.
Wow.
And
Good stat.
their line is plus 3.5. So key number there, 3.5. Field
can-
goal hits.
Yeah, you can lose by a field goal and still win the spread.
And the spread is at minus 118. The
Okay.
money line, which I'll probably be taking,
Ooh.
plus 150.
Interesting. Taking the money line against Dallas. I like it. So let's do another bet here. We're going to go with who we are betting, and I've already put money on this, so I don't know if you're going to do it, but I've already done it. I've invested. I'm not just giving y'all this bet for fun. I'm giving you this bet because I'm doing it. Bet for MVP this season, I took Jalen Hurts. I love him in fantasy. I love him in real life. He's playing phenomenal, and he's on one of the only 2 undefeated teams in football on the Eagles. Jalen Hurts, you can get him at plus 600 to win the MVP this season. I love that bet.
Yeah, I like it too. So much that I'm not going to take it because I'm going to take mine.
I would hope.
Maybe a little biased, but I think we can all agree Lamar Jackson is having a crazy season.
Like we said, contract Lamar, he's a dog. He's great.
His odds for MVP right now are at plus 550, so still pretty good odds.
Mm-hmm.
Get a good chunk of change off of that if it hits. I mean, it won't hit for a while, but
Right. Yeah, we still. This is a long-term bet, people.
Oh, yeah.
This is not something you are going to get any fulfillment for anytime soon. The award show is in February. So if you can wait that long and you got a little bit of extra change to spend, put it on something long-term like this. It's fun to watch how the season goes when you know you have something invested in it. And that's why we went with our MVP picks through 3 weeks. You're not too far into the season where it's like, oh, yeah, no duh, that's obvious. But it's also not to a point where it's like we're throwing shots in the dark.
Yeah.
So I went Jalen Hurts, you went Lamar. 2 pretty similar quarterbacks as far as athleticism goes, the ability to run the ball.
I might be a little biased being he's on my fantasy team and winning me some games.
Fair enough. And I might be a little biased because I've loved Jalen Hurts forever. Always have, always will. Shout out Jalen Hurts. Speaking about some fantasy football, let's get into the Fantasy 5, where we talk about fantasy football for 5 or more minutes. Last week, we played a little game, if you were listening in. It's called Over Under. So basically what we did is we gave the other person, a quarterback, running back, and receiver, gave them their line for fantasy points that week based on our league of record that we've mentioned a couple times tonight. And we asked, are they going to hit over or under those fantasy points? So, I gave Mr. B over here Lamar Jackson,
Hit,
Clyde Edwards-Helaire,
hit,
and CeeDee Lamb.
miss.
He went over, under. Unfortunately for him, they all 3 went over. But, you know, can't win them all.
If he wouldn't have caught that touchdown.
Unless you're me.
Yeah, I gave Bryce Tom Brady.
He went under.
He did.
Mhm.
A.J. Dillon
He also went under.
by a lot.
Yep.
Not the best look. And Drake London.
He went over. He was my only over pick, and he only went over by 1.2 points. But he did exactly what I said he would do. I said he would catch a red zone touchdown, and he would catch a couple other passes to make him go over, and he did exactly what I thought. Shout out Drake London. I didn't like you coming out of college, and I don't like you because you're a Falcon, but I like you when you make me sound smart. We also had fantasy MVPs. Byron's hit. Technically, he went over on his points. So I guess in a way that makes him a fantasy
Yeah,
MVP.
he was also the number 1 position player on the opposing team that I was playing.
Ooh. But you ended up winning anyway, right?
Yeah,
Let's go. That's what I'm talking about.
blowout.
He had Travis Kelce. He was projected 16.2 points. He went for 17.9. So that kind of hurts your fantasy team, but you ended up winning anyway. Doesn't matter, but it makes you sound smart because he hit for your fantasy MVP.
Yeah, again, he was the number one fantasy tight end this week.
Yeah.
Even though he only put up 17.9. Still a pretty big number for tight ends. Being he was projected 16, off the bat, you're expecting him to not hit it because he's a tight end. But
Right.
then you look at it, it's Travis Kelce.
Yeah, he's good for a touchdown every week almost. But unfortunately, unlike my over-unders, I did not hit on fantasy MVP.
Yeah.
Well, you like I
Can't
said,
win 'em all.
Can't win them all. That's what I'm talking about. I had Justin Herbert versus the Jags, and looking back on it, it was a bad pick. Not only did Justin Herbert not win a fantasy MVP, I didn't start him this week. I have Justin Herbert and Tua as my two quarterbacks on that fantasy team, and we started Tua. So I picked him as my fantasy MVP and then didn't put him in my lineup.
That's messed up.
I got to be honest with y'all people. I don't want to lie, but it's what happened. Just because he was questionable to play until basically the very last minute, he has some fractured rib cartilage, which I didn't even know you could do that. But yeah, fractured rib cartilage.
Impressive.
Ended up playing anyway, and then didn't play to Justin Herbert's level. I thought the injury would make him overcompensate, and he'd be like, you know what, I'm not even hurt. I feel great. I'm Justin Herbert.
So, that being said, both of your fantasy quarterbacks are injured.
At least one of them will play. Don't even try. Don't listen to him, ladies
So, who are you
and
going to
gents.
pick up?
Don't listen to him. At least one of my quarterbacks will be healthy, and whichever one's healthy is going to get at least 30 points.
I'll gladly make another trade with you and Reese.
We're not. All right. Going on to our next question. Let's ignore him.
He's not up for it, guy.
Okay. So for our new question of this episode, I want to ask you: who is one player you would trade for, and who is one player you would trade away if you had them? So basically, based on whatever metric you want to use, whether they're overperforming and you think they're going to go down, underperforming and you think they're going to go up, performing exactly as you expected them to, and you just like the player, who would you trade for if you wanted him in this fantasy market?
Yeah, I have mine.
Okay.
I'd like to see someone in the comments take a shot at it.
Ooh.
Pick someone you like, who you think you should add or trade for, or someone you should drop or trade away. So while y'all type up in the comments section some of your opinions, for me, player I'd like to trade for is Isaiah McKenzie.
Ooh.
So he had a little bit of hype coming into the season.
As
but
you should when you're on the Bills, I guess.
people knew he was in a high-powered offense.
Yeah.
Two already high-powered receivers, so he probably wouldn't get as many looks. But
He's getting a nice little target share.
yeah,
Shout out Isaiah McKenzie.
he had like 22 points last week
Nice.
on Dustin's bench.
Man, Dustin, we don't mean to make fun of you so much. I promise we don't. But it just kind of happens.
But a player that I'm willing to drop or trade away.
Willing to drop. Wow. Well, fair enough.
He's on my bench. He's been on my bench since the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Also, another player who had a lot of hype.
Yep.
Except this guy made sense about his hype because the team he got drafted to.
They don't have a number one receiver.
Yeah, it didn't look like the receiver room was going to be anything, if much, at all. Sky Moore. He has
Rookie
put
receiver.
up a total of -2 points.
That sucks.
Yeah. He had 0 week 1, 0 week 2. And he
Negative.
fumbled last week.
Oh, okay. Both pretty good picks. So, address a couple comments here before I get into mine. I'd like to get Hurts, and I'd trade for Diggs. Yes. In an ideal world,
Hear me out. Both of those players are already on his team.
yeah. I would also want Jalen Hurts and Stephon Diggs. I agree. Very good and very, very good. And then my mom asked, Bryce, who is on my team? So I have a league where I run two teams. One is my team, one is my mom's team. It's a little convoluted, but I manage both teams in the same league.
Which one's
Anyway.
doing better, by the way?
So one team is 2-1, one team is 0-3. I will not say which team is which. Mom,
I think we know
on
what
your
that
team
means.
is Jalen Hurts, the guy I bet for MVP, the guy who I think is one of the best fantasy quarterbacks and best quarterbacks in the league. You've got two great running backs in Derrick Henry and Nick Chubb. And you've also got Jamar Chase and Tyreek Hill as your receiving core. So you've got a fantastic team, Mom. You're welcome. I'm great at drafting if it's not my team. Anyway, my guys. The one I would trade for, Packers receiver Allen Lazard. He was out week 1, but in the past 2 weeks, he's caught a touchdown each week. He is Aaron Rodgers' most trusted receiver. And if you are the most trusted receiver of an MVP, I would say you're probably pretty good. So I'd trade for Allen Lazard. I think he's a good candidate to get 5 catches every week and probably good for 10 touchdowns this year. So get Allen Lazard. He's a good depth piece, if nothing else. And you can probably throw him in your flex. If you have a flex in your league, probably throw him in there.
Yeah, I'd say he's probably the best receiver on that Packers team.
I would say so. Romeo Dobbs is looking fantastic
he's really
as a
coming
rookie.
up.
But overall, we've seen Allen Lazard do it. I think he's the best. Guy I would trade away, another receiver, Jacoby Myers, number 1 receiver in New England. And he has had a great season so far. I think he's the 25th best receiver in fantasy, which is just outside the wide receiver 2 range. So he's a really high-end flex option. But Mac Jones just went out for a very long, extended period of time.
Yeah, it did not look
It
good.
looks very bad. They said he has like basically the worst high ankle sprain you can get without being fractured. So that just doesn't look good for Jacoby Myers when his quarterback is going to be Brian Hoyer. If you don't know who Brian Hoyer is, there's probably a reason for that. So when you've got Brian Hoyer at quarterback, I'm not taking that receiver. Big B, shout out for telling my mom that her team is set because it definitely is.
That's not the comment I was looking at.
Yeah, hush.
There's 2.
Hush.
First one I'm going to bring up is by DJ Thug Nasty.
Mm-hmm.
Great perspective, by the way. He'd suggest trading Hawkinson away while he's quote-unquote hot.
No.
I think I did a great job of that.
No, absolutely not. He's only looking up from here. Never trade a guy who's looking up. Goes against my philosophy, but it changes when it comes to Hawkinson. Shout out Detroit. Shout out TJ. I don't need the negativity, DJ.
That and your mom
Yeah.
is
She's roasting
you.
me in the comments.
Boom,
right now.
roasted.
Boom roasted to a team who she didn't know was on it until 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, she said she's beating you and she's not even playing.
What she doesn't know is that if I win on her team, I'm getting the money. Ooh, how you like that one, Raylan? Anyway, any update on Jarvis that I've heard of? I have not heard any updates on Jarvis, unfortunately. If y'all didn't see, Jarvis went down in the Carolina game. Looks like he strained either an ankle or a calf, maybe even his foot. Just the lower leg area, really. Same thing happened to Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas was able to walk off under his own power. He kind of went out at the end of the game. I'm sure he'll be limited throughout the week and then hopefully play against the Vikings. Jarvis, I don't know.
I got a tweet pulled up from
Okay.
Ian Rappaport yesterday morning.
Ooh, rap sheet.
Says Saints believe Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry dodged a serious injury.
Good.
Ian Rappaport says both will have tests today, which
Okay.
was yesterday.
Okay.
But based on the initial diagnosis, it doesn't appear that injuries to Saints receivers Michael Thomas, toe injury, and Jarvis Landry, foot injury, are serious.
Okay, good.
Landry has some soreness, while Thomas, it's not the same foot as his previous ankle injury, which thank God, because he'd be out another 2 years. But it's looking good for
Okay,
both of them. Michael Thomas, they're saying he's probably going to play
Cool.
next week. Landry, depending on his soreness or not, he might be sitting out next week,
Okay. You know,
but he should be back the following, if that.
that's fine. I can live with that. Although Jarvis has played phenomenal this season.
Absolutely.
He looks so much more energetic to be in a place that he wants to be. Because he was in Cleveland, and let's be honest, who wants to be in Cleveland?
Not Odell Beckham.
That's for sure. So yeah, hopefully Jarvis and MT will both be healthy by Sunday. But yeah, there's your update on Jarvis. Shout out Byron for that information. And we're at 8:00 here, but we're gonna wrap up with something we haven't talked about since our first episode. little bit of basketball. Ooh. New Orleans Pelicans. I love them. Love me some Pels. They had media day yesterday. And let me tell you, Zion Williamson was looking slim. Looking slim. Zion Williamson was looking great. He looks much more in shape than he did last season. So I'll definitely take it. And my favorite part about this Pelicans team is they look happy to be together.
Yes.
I changed my header on Twitter to a picture of our starters.
A picture of Tony Snell.
You wish. I wish. Tony Snell wishes. I love Tony Snell, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. He's my TJ Hawkinson of basketball. But yeah, I changed my header on Twitter to a picture of all of our starters, and they all have their arms around each other, and they're just laughing.
Who's got the longest arms? It's got to be B.I.
Well, probably, but you can't really see him because they're like wrapped around. But if I had to guess, B.I.'s arms are touching Zion on his left shoulder and C.J. on his right because those are the two farthest people. B.I. looks like Slenderman. But, yeah, I don't know. I think the last time I've seen a Pels team with this much chemistry is 2017 when we made the playoffs and swept the Trailblazers in the first round. That team really seemed to love each other, too. Drew Holiday, Tyreek Evans, Nikola Mirotic, I'm not even going to say his name. Boogie went down during the season.
He who shall not be named.
Correct. That's all, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, that's an inside joke. Zion looked good. B.I. looked happy. B.I. also said the goal for this team is a championship. When asked, what do you think this Pelicans team realistic expectation is, he looked straight at the camera and said, a championship. If I said second round, Willie Green would be calling me and tell me to shut up because that's not good enough. So when you got a team with high expectations like that who love each other, why can't we win games? What are we laughing at now?
That's exactly who we're talking about.
Anthony, don't say goodbye to us, Davis. That's funny. Alex said playoffs, most definitely top 5. Well, that was my next question, Byron. That was my next question. What do you think is a realistic expectation for this Pelican team?
I think, without a doubt, they can make a run for the championship.
Why not?
They're very young, got a lot of depth.
Mm-hmm.
We saw our rookies last year play amazing in the playoffs.
We hit on rookies last year. Very good.
So yeah, I think I definitely think they could make a push for the championship.
Absolutely. I love this Pels team. I think they've got great chemistry, and if you look at the Pels team, they don't have a huge hole. Like, you can't look at the team and be like, there's one big glaring need that they have. They've got plenty of power down low. They've got rebounding in Valanciunas. They've got shooting in CJ and BI. They've got playmaking in CJ, BI, and even Zion's a pretty good playmaker for his size. Zion's one of the most athletic players we've ever seen. We've got defense with Herb being, Herb is an amazing defender. And Willie Green said he's only gotten better. So we're seeing that. And then off the bench, Jose, my guy. Jose is that energy. He's that energy getter.
He's a fan favorite.
He is a fan, and for good reason. Grand Theft Alvarado, baby. He's got that sneaky little corner move where he comes up behind you, steals the ball, gets the ball back, plays fantastic defense. He's like if I liked Patrick Beverly. That's how I like to explain Jose Alvarado. And then we've got Larry Nance off the bench. We've got Jackson Hayes. We've got tons of energy, tons of length. I think we're going to be a really good team.
I agree.
Final question for the Pelicans. Their over-under on the wins is currently set at 43.5. Are we going over or under those wins?
43.5.
It's a really good number for the Pelicans, by the way. That would put us 43-39 or 44-38, depending on how you want to look at it.
Yeah, I think they could win more than 44 games.
I think so too. I would say we could push for 50. Push for 50. I think that's what the Pelicans should do this year. Push for 50. If we get 50 wins, that'll put us above the play-in. I think if we can get a top 6 seed in the playoffs, we don't have to worry about those 2 play-in games. It gives us a little bit of extra time. We'll be really good. I hope Hayes doesn't get another charge, literally. Good point. Let's make sure Jackson Hayes stays out of prison.
Yeah, one thing about Jackson Hayes, I like him. He's young. got a lot of aggressiveness. Whether it be
Both
for,
on and off the basketball court.
but you can see he plays with passion.
Yep.
And we saw last season in the playoffs play with a little too much passion, got ejected in what could have caused the Pelicans to lose that game.
Yeah.
Because I think we were on track to win, and then it happened.
We could have beat the Suns. We could have beat the Suns in that series. I'm still determined. And I can't believe I forgot to talk about him, but one more guy on that team, Trey Murphy. I love Trey Murphy, man. He's awesome. And his mom's really cool too on Twitter. If you don't follow Trey Murphy's mom on Twitter, you should. She's awesome. But yeah, I love this Pelicans team. Love them so much that we will be at the game next Friday. They have one home preseason game, and we were like, why not? Let's just go. So we're going to be going to that Pelicans game next Friday, so we won't be having an episode. So for the next 2 weeks, we'll be coming on Thursday. That'll be this Thursday coming up, as well as next Thursday. We'll also have one mixed in earlier next week. So that's what we look like for the future. Anything else you want to add to this Off the Dome Sports podcast for this little episode we got going?
With basketball season right around the corner, probably see a little more Rebo.
A little more Rebo. And, gotta say, baseball playoffs are coming up. I know we haven't talked baseball at all, but that's because both of our teams stink.
Yeah, we're kind of saving that for
We're saving that for our expert, maybe on next week, because baseball playoffs do start very soon. Maybe on next week. Adam Lott, one of our buddies, biggest baseball mind I've ever met.
Oh yeah.
So maybe we'll get him on and talk a little bit of baseball with y'all.
Yeah, he might embarrass us.
Yeah, we're gonna let him do the talking for sure. But yeah, Adam Lott should be getting on. Should have our buddy Reese getting on. Even get our buddy Forsyth on. Why not?
Maybe they could all be in on one episode.
That would be awesome. You know who's not going to be on? Peyton.
The one standing in the doorway.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it tonight for the Us Off the Dome Sports podcast.
I think he's trying to signal us.
Well,
Maybe the camera's probably getting low.
we don't want y'all to miss. But yeah, we had a fun time tonight, as we always do. Thank everybody so much for listening in Off the Dome Sports podcast, whether you're watching on YouTube, watching on Facebook, laughing along with Byron here.
Lionel Frankenstein is in the house.
Lionel Frankenstein, baby. Shout out Danny. Yeah, like I was saying, thanks for watching us on Facebook, watching us on YouTube, watching us on Twitch. If you're listening in on newrockradio.us, we appreciate you too. Thank everybody so much for listening in, watching in. We will catch you Thursday, 6 o'clock p.m., right before the Thursday night football game, coming at you with tons of good information, preview of that game. Again, Thursday, Radio House Studios on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, newrockradio.us. This is Off the Dome Sports Podcast, and we will see you next time.